You know, to have a clean conscience. England or France or anybody just says, oh, okay, we'll recycle it. We just give it to them. It's a recycling center. It's not a recycling center. It just gets piled up. So what most of the time it ends up in rivers and then oceans and then pollutes everything. So.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Eco Fight podcast. Today, I'm super excited to be inviting someone that I am pumped to have on the podcast. Someone that is actually inspiring me now the more that I speak to him. But let's roll straight into it. And Gianni, I'm so excited to have you part of the podcast, mate.
And I'm so excited to be here, Jackson.
Awesome. Whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
I'm in Paris,
yeah.
Coming from rainy Paris. I'm Italian, but I'm here in Paris right now.
Yeah, fantastic. And you, now, I find this hilarious though. Like I jumped on and saw your page the other week on Instagram, and now I'm following you avidly. But what is it that you're doing in your company?
So I am the president and founder of this NGO, international NGO that's called Gaia First. And what we do is we have a major project of cleaning up ocean from plastic, from floating plastics, such as fish nets and everything else that just gets accumulated in the great garbage patches. To do this, we take it and we transform it into energy to augment the whole process itself, so it's self-sustaining.
Yeah, fantastic. And how long have you been running it for? It's about, I saw on LinkedIn it was like a year, coming on to 2 years, is it?
Yeah, exactly. 2 years that it's actually the NGO has been formed, but the project I've been working on it since 2016.
Wow, yeah.
Just a little longer.
Yeah. Now I'm you're right if I talk about your age on here. You're right to disclose that information.
It's okay.
It's so interesting for me as a young person to be able to connect with people around the world and kind of talk to people. Like, I'm 20 years old. I have some really massive ambitions, and to speak to someone that's got so much life experience that's trying to now achieve the same goals that I have is so fantastic to kind of learn. And I don't mean to blow smoke up your ass, if you know what that saying means, but it's so humbling for me to realize that there's so many other people that have so much more experience working on these things, and it makes me realize that it's okay that I haven't got it figured out yet, which is what I'm trying to do in our organization. But I want to know what's driving you to want to make some changes.
Well, this has been a mission of my life. I think I've always tried to make changes everywhere I would go. And I would see problems and try to make a difference. But the environment, especially nature and the relation that we have with nature, has always been extremely important for me. So, you know, it's I'm one of those guys that when they were young, they were talking to the animals. I still do, but, you know, I can't really say that at my age. So it's really important for me to, you know, save our planet. Because what we don't see right now, I have this feeling that we see ourselves as a group of people and the planet as something else, isolated without a life. It's not true. It's actually the planet is a unit of its own. It's a living organism, complex living organism, and we're just like the cells of this organism. Like we have the cells in our body. They're all individuals, and they all talk about themselves and do their stuff between themselves, but they're part of a body. So this is what I'm trying to, you know, make people understand also, that coming together opens up to a bigger us and opens up to the world as well. So we are responsible for it. That's the main idea.
Now, Gaia First, their biggest mission is to start with the Great Ocean Garbage Patch, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. What are the current things we're working on at the moment?
Well, right now we are trying to pump up on presence and visibility, because we need public support for this, because the funding of this project is not huge, but it's quite important. Okay, we're talking about the first step of 630,000 euros to adapt the gasification systems to the marine life. Gasification is what turns trash, plastic waste into energy via hydrogen. So it's green energy, completely green energy.
Talk about how that process works.
So it's actually something is not new. It's been invented in the 19th century, and it's been optimized ever since. So today you find gasification units all over the world. It's not very popular because it's still something niche, but you can find it in Copenhagen's municipal waste management, all the way to NASA's latest mission to Mars, because they use a little gasification system to produce oxygen from the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere. So you see, it's multi-purpose. Yeah. And the key system is that gasification or chemical electrolysis overheats materials, in this case plastic, to their without combustions to temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius, about 1,800 Fahrenheit, without combustion. So what happens is the large molecular structures, they break into smaller fragments all the way down to their elemental form, like hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then we take these to produce energy.
Fantastic. It's a cool process. Do you have a science background? Are you?
I do have a scientific background. I have a very strong scientific passion. But the thing is, you learn as you go along, as you get into details, and you really dive into things. And this is important. This is actually a message for everybody. You do not have to have one certain background. If you're interested and you're passionate about something, you can get into anything. Elon Musk got into space rockets, okay? And he was not a space rocket engineer. Yeah. So it's a passion.
He's also someone that amazes me how his brain works. The more I see of him, it's just weird how that person's brain can take in information the way that it does. But you've got a fairly decent sized team around you now building Gaia First, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's all made up of volunteers, and they're very high quality volunteers. We have a team of about more than 30 people in several different countries. And every time we do a cleanup, volunteers, they show up per area. They're about maybe 200, 250. So it's pretty big. Considering that when we do the local action cleanup, worldwide, we have 25 countries participating. So it's quite it's quite a large crowd. Yeah,
fantastic. And I only just saw today that you guys were doing the international cleanup days and stuff. What's the average turn up for them now?
Well, it depends. We have some fixed places. For example, we have big teams in France, in Spain, in Algeria, and Greece. This is where we have a fixed team organizing everything, and that's the average turn up is 150 to 250 people, depends on the location.
That's awesome.
Even more sometimes. In Greece, we had a summer camp, lots of kids, and that was great. So they were all having fun cleaning up the environment. But it's open up for everybody to join in. So we have people from, I don't know, Indonesia, Panama, US, Canada. We have lots of people from Canada and the US as well, and Australia as well. So
awesome.
A lot of surfers from Australia, which is good.
I think it's the cool thing here in Australia is that it's so accessible to find people that are willing to help clean up. The problem we have in Australia is that there's not a lot of pollution. Here where we are, it's like we might find some cigarette butts, a few wrappers. Occasionally you find a Macca's cup or something like. but it's not an often thing that you find. And so I can go out and clean a beach myself, but if we were to collect 100 people together, we would be standing there with nothing to clean.
Looking at each other. Yeah.
We're like, great, we did a good job. So that's a really difficult thing for me at the moment. Is I'm like, I'm really excited when COVID, because we can't leave Australia at the moment with everything that's happening with COVID. We're pretty much just stuck here. They won't let us leave. So I'm waiting to get back overseas so I can. Our big goal is to get back into the Philippines and start to set up a permanent team in the Philippines doing regular daily cleanup. And that's main reason why is because the Philippines is the third most polluted country in the world. And so we're in the process at the moment working with the Philippine government to work out how we're going to make that possible and get over there and start to set up that cleanup. Because and anyone that's listening, the Filipino government, you might know, I saw you had a volunteer in the Philippines.
Yes.
The Philippine government's really wanting people to help with this pollution problem. And so they're really willing to let anyone come in and kind of take reign and really help with it. So it's been really helpful over there. I know a few other countries we've tried to get into. I'm not going to say where they are, but they haven't been as forthcoming with trying to help us through the government officials. So, yeah.
Look, the Philippines has got a massive problem, like has got most Asian countries where the Western world has sent the pollution, because let's not forget, yes, they have a pollution problem on site, but it's the origin of this is actually Europe and maybe even the US, because what we do is, with the idea of saying we recycle things, we just pay somebody to ship everything to them. So they hand recycle, like for example, materials or very packagings that are really hard to recycle. You know, to have a clean conscience, England or France or anybody just says, oh, okay, we'll recycle it. We just give it to them. It's a recycling center. It's not a recycling center. It just gets piled up. So most of the time it ends up in rivers and then oceans and then pollutes everything. So
that's exactly right.
Problem. It's our fault.
It's something I've been reading up a lot more on at the moment with the United States and Australia, Canada. I haven't really looked too much into the UK side of things or the Europe, but it's really weird. You see the United States shipping large quantities of plastic back over to China, and it was in 2019. China said we're not taking it anymore. And then a lot of the other countries around there said, well, we can't handle it anymore. It's just getting dumped straight into the ocean. So, and it's a hard thing for me is I've really tried to educate myself from a young age on what's truly happening around the world. But a lot of our comments on Instagram and on mainly TikTok, actually, because we've got about 100,000 followers on TikTok, but a lot of them are people in the United States saying, this isn't our problem. It's not in our country. And it's the hardest thing to sit there and go, do you not understand that this was in your country once and you used it? You've just shipped it across to another country to deal with. And that's the most frustrating thing for me, is when you deal with ignorant people that just don't have the intelligence to understand the true things that are happening.
You see, I'm going to tell you a story, okay? I would
love to hear
Greece. I was in Greece a couple of months ago, and we went to this beautiful beach. Greece has got some really amazing beaches. So I went to this beautiful beach, and as usual, on the way to the beach, there's trash all over the place. And that gets me mad, because I think, why can't you just keep your trash? Just throw it. There are some garbage cans, okay? Just keep it with you. Anyway, we go to the beach is fine. It's clean and everything. It's a private beach. And then next to it, right at the edge of it, there was trash. There was plastic bottles, coffee cups, all kind of things, wrapping papers. So I go to the people that were there, the guards and the cleaners and everything. I'm like, did you see this? I mean, is it supposed to stay there? Because everybody was walking by and leaving it there. But there was a lot, right? And he goes, oh, but this is not my beach. You see, my beach finishes here. And I said, no, you don't understand. This is your country. This is your beach. And this is my beach. Even if it's not my country, this is our home. Okay, we should not stop just where the boundaries are, because It's not because just the waves will bring it in, because the boundaries do not limit our home. Our home is Earth, everything. We are responsible for it. So I started getting into an argument with. Anyway, in the end, I cleaned it where everybody was looking at me. I started picking everything up and I cleaned the whole area. And most people were looking but didn't move. That's the mentality. But that's the thing. You have to start setting the example. And people will understand eventually and follow. And once they start cleaning it, when they start participating, they understand the importance of not littering in the first place.
Yeah.
And keeping it clean.
There's such a cool video that I've always watched to give that example of other people joining in. I don't know, tell me if you've seen it, but there's a guy dancing at a festival on the side of the hill and everyone's sitting there watching him and he just goes all out and starts dancing and no one joins him for about a minute and he just looks really weird dancing. He's the only one dancing on the whole hill. And about a minute and a half in, one other person joins. And the second that other people saw that someone else joined, within like 5 minutes, then there was like 1,000 people standing there like dancing on the hill. And then this guy that originally started it walked away and he left. And there was still 1,000 people standing there starting it. And I think I've watched that and I think you probably relate it as well. But that's what I relate my journey to. Is it's like, I want to leave a legacy for the way that I want to leave places and I want to show people what they can do. And then I want to move on and fix the next issue that's happening in the world. And it's like,
that's
if I can
exactly
leave a big enough
too,
legacy, and if you can leave a big enough legacy, those people will continue to do it, because not everyone wants to move on to the next thing to fix. They're happy to just fix the thing and keep on going with what they're doing. And it's kind of what I'm trying to really work on, is say, well, what can I do that can leave a legacy? And at the moment, pollution is one of those things that we've really got to fix around the world and change the culture. Absolutely. I think. What's it like over there in France? Like, I haven't been to Europe. Actually, I haven't been to Europe at all yet. But COVID's making that nearly impossible to get over there. But you, I've seen you in Europe. Europe's a continent, but I've seen you in France. I've seen you in Italy, Greece. What are you doing over there at the moment?
Well, it's kind of hard because it's true, COVID restrictions block you traveling, and there's a lot of swabs there. You have to take up your nose. I've got a highway on my nose. So
I haven't had a
right
COVID
through my
test
brain,
yet.
right?
I haven't had a COVID test yet.
No. Oh
Not
my
one.
God, you lucky guy.
I'm never gonna have one in my life. That's my goal.
That was my goal too, but it didn't last very long.
Impossibly. I'm saying that wrong, aren't I?
No, you were saying it almost right.
Almost right.
Impossible.
For anyone's context, I'm trying to learn French at the moment. So he's going to be my French coach every week. We're going to jump on a Zoom and he's going to coach me French.
Exactly. So we're going to have an online Zoom French session. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm keen for it. We'll all know how to clean plastic and learn French.
Bien sûr, c'est très éducatif. What?
Over my head.
So what actually you cannot do here in Paris, you cannot go to restaurants, you cannot go to bars, you cannot do anything without having a green pass. And a green pass you get it either by vaccines or via no swabs. So
it's crazy. It's something interesting. I'd love to know your opinion on this. So I got in a hot, heated debate with someone the other day, and it was about zero use of plastic in the world. So people never using plastic. And I said, it's impossible to do. We cannot live a zero waste life. We can limit the amount we use, and we can be conscious to say, I'm not going to use plastic when there's another choice. And this person wouldn't agree to me until I said, what would modern healthcare look like without plastic? And then they were like, oh, yeah, true. I said, so what would it look like if we had to get all of our vaccines and everything and they didn't have plastic canisters to put them in and stuff? And they like completely broke their brain down. And then it made me think more. And I was like, there is some things in the world that we just can't live without plastic. Like plastic's a really beneficial thing. It's light for transport. It's everything. And I've started to realize the last few weeks that plastic's not the worst thing in the world. It's what we do with it after we're finished with it, and the way that we
Exactly.
create it to only be used once. And so I'd love to know your opinion on what your thoughts are. Like when you're telling people about plastic, what's the words you're using? Because I originally used to say no plastic, no plastic, and then I realized that it's impossible. Like, yeah.
Well, no plastic, no plastic. Right now, it is impossible in the sense that we're not prepared. It's true that we are the market. So the more we tend to choose alternatives, the more the market will study alternatives to plastic, especially packaging and things like this. And I think packaging is the most important one because it's very difficult to handle packaging in a responsible way, especially single-use packaging. That's crazy. Just use it for not even a couple of seconds and then it's thrown away.
Yeah.
Plastic is not a monster. The monster is us, the way we tackle it into the old recycling methods, which is very mechanical and does not work for all kind of plastics. Okay, so you can only get like, I don't know, PET's bottles or something like this that can be recycled. And even then, you have to mix them with virgin material. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't hold. So this is something to tackle the everybody because it's you see what I bring forward is this gasification unit, right? That you can get energy from this material from the hydrocarbons of which all kind of plastics are made of. But and this is something I talked on the TED Talk as well. We can tune the system to extract ethylene. And ethylene is the very basic building block of all kind of plastic, which means that if we take those mountains of unrecyclable plastics, right, and we convert them into ethylene, we can choose to use either ethylene for energy production by breaking it down further, or to make more products in a truly recycling way. So we can use that garbage to make more products and then turn it into garbage again, hydrocarbons, in a continuous way, reducing and eventually eliminating the need to extract new raw materials. So that could be a true form of sustainable, production and recycling. Now we just have to change methods and be more responsible.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now I was interested when you said before, and you started talking about your goals for funding for what you're trying to do. What is it that the funding? Did you say it was around 700,000? Yeah.
It's 630,000 for the first step. Yeah.
The first step. And what's that going to allow you guys to do?
That would adjust the gasification units to the marine environment, which is gasification units work extremely well, especially on land. But on the marine, we have to adjust with salinity levels, hygromet levels, so moisture and rocking of the boats and all kind of marine life exposures. So this is what we have to study and do. This is something that already exists, but it's been adapted to war boats. So for the marine, especially the U.S. Marines, where they use these systems internally to eliminate all kind of wastes.
Yeah.
But so we have to do another parallel study because we can't use that system. We have to do a similar one.
Yeah.
So that to collect the garbage and produce hydrogen.
Now, this isn't something that you learn in like high school science. Where have you learned all of this stuff from? Because I know that when I graduated school, I didn't learn how to turn plastic back into energy. So I'd love to know.
So this actually in 2016, I met up with some ex-NASA engineers that were working on this. And so in discussing things with them and talking about general the solution that could be transported and brought to left and right, and I started thinking, what if we use this for like places where we cannot, they're not easy accessible, you can just build it on a truck or something and bring it to places where you treat dangerous materials on site. And then it just grew and grew and grew, and then I understood that on land there's a lot of limitations because of governments and regulations. So, and I thought, okay, then on the water. And then on the water, I realized that there are massive continents that need to be treated because they're killing wildlife and poisoning waters and blocking phytoplankton from carrying the normal carbon dioxide absorption. So this, I said, let's do this on where everybody is involved, but nobody cares because it's international waters. Because everybody says, it's not my problem, it's international, it's outside of my beach. So that's the thing.
It's interesting when you talk about the international water problem. Tell me if you're familiar with the Ocean Cleanup Organization. It's Boyan Slat owns it. So do you know Boyan Slat?
I don't know him personally. I know his journey and his theories and practice, actually.
Yeah. I watched him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I'm yet to try and get him on this podcast because I think he'd be great to have a chat with. But a lot of what he said was in this Great Ocean Garbage Patch was that no one's claiming it, but what he's trying to do is turn this plastic into a viable product that we can start to reuse and turn back into plastic products that we can have as sunglasses and things like that. And he said, wouldn't it be funny if all of these countries start coming out and saying, well, that's mine, because there'll be a profit on the plastic that's in the ocean. And I find that so hilarious that we think about it now, we're like, no one wants to claim it. But if we were able to turn that into something that was revenue, money generating, there'd be so many countries around the world that would be like, I want that. And they'd be dying to go and clean it up because it is. And I think what he's doing, it's so cool to see. And he is actually turning plastic back into things that people are buying and acided products, which is really cool. Yeah.
Yes. That's very cool. That's very cool. It's a system that is a singular approach that he's using by passively collecting, all the ocean waste through those great floaters to collect it, and then he ships towards them, collects them, and brings them back. Yeah. He has collected, I think he came back with 4 tons or something like this of plastic, which is good. But he did this like over a week time or something like that. It's still it's a tiny spoon. It's like trying to empty out a swimming pool with a teaspoon,
Yeah, it's very.
And you
very
have
small.
a whole waterfall jumping in, refilling that swimming pool. So
yeah.
The approach that we are doing, it's slightly it's a lot higher scaled up, because what we are trying to reduce is 50 tons per day. In other words, in 5 years, we get rid of the greatest garbage patch, or at least 90% of it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But the only way to do it is to work on it on spot. So that's why we transform it into energy on the spot, on the boats.
Now, we can only, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because we can only pull the plastic out when it's still, before it becomes microplastic, yeah? Once it becomes microplastic, it's going to be very, very difficult to get that out, yeah?
Correct, yes.
So that's why we are on a time bounds. It's like a bomb going off, right? We've got so much out there that if we don't start to collect it before it becomes microplastic, it's going to permanently be in our food chain. That's going to permanently be affecting us. Exactly. And I think that's the thing that people might not understand yet, that they don't realize just how large it is. Do you know the Great Ocean Garbage Patch, how many tons is out there?
Well, the greatest garbage fetch is 80,000 tons. Okay, it's pretty big.
That's ridiculous.
And that's the more concentrated area. Obviously, it's spread out. The higher concentrated area is 3 times the size of France or Texas of floating garbage, but the overall area is 6 times that. So it's huge.
Yeah.
Compared to Australia, I would say it's a whole Australia continent floating in the water of garbage. So
massive.
now you know how big that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me, if you're all right. So, talk to me a bit about your family that you've got. Have you got family over in France?
My family of origin, no, they're all Italians and they're all in Italy. I've got a sister in Miami and my other sister in Milan, but my parents are near Florence. I have 4 amazing children here in Paris with my ex-wife. And I have a fantastic future wife to be. So
beautiful. That's fantastic. And are your kids, have they followed along your footsteps in what you're doing?
Well, the eldest one, she's 15, and she's definitely gonna follow because she's really she's pulling all her friends along to the cleanups and everything, and she's really into it. So, and also the youngest one, the little boy, he's 4 years old, but he picks up trash wherever we go, even when he's not supposed to. He says, "Ah, Papa, look," and I'm like, no, leave that there because that's disgusting. It's dirty, but in the streets, So but it's great. They really feel it. I mean, it's inborn, I think, because okay, they had me showing the way, but most of it is them. They have their own initiatives in doing something for the environment and for nature. That this is I get a I admire them for many things. So definitely, yes, they're gonna take over, and I'll be so happy.
That's awesome. It's cool to see because I've got a fair few followers that ask me. I don't know why they ask me. I'm the worst person to ask. I don't have kids. I've only got a partner, and we're not going to have kids for at least another 5 or 10 years. But they ask me what do I recommend on trying to inspire their kids to want to take action on it, on being more environmentally friendly. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just natural for me. I have no opinion on how to do it for younger children. Do you have any comments on it?
Absolutely. I think it's inborn. The new generations are really connected to the environment, probably more than the older generations. So the younger they are, the more they're in contact and the more they feel this connection and this need to make a difference. We are setting up the place for them, but they have a lot of work to do. But it's not fair that we leave them all the work to do. So it has to start from us. Because otherwise they will not cope with it. So our responsibility, and they will take part of it, enjoying it, doing it for pleasure, not for duty. We have to do it for duty as well as pleasure, but mainly it's duty. Yeah, that's how I see it.
And we spoke about legacy before. Do you want your kids to take over what you're doing later on? Like, how long do you see yourself doing this? You're only 44, so you're only you still got plenty of years left. Only half. Are you halfway through your life? Where would you say?
I've passed my halfway. Yeah,
I don't think that. Come on, we can live to 100.
I think there's so many people I don't need to live over 100. I mean, when my time is up, I'll be happy to go and start a new adventure somewhere else. But I think this is also another point: the chasing of everlasting life. It's because most people are they're a little blind and they think that this is the only thing there is, right? I'm a little bit more spiritual on this, so I think that there's future in different things afterwards, and this is an experience. So better make the most of it, and when it's time to go, go.
Yeah.
Don't linger around.
Where does that originate from? That belief?
Well, my spirituality.
Yeah.
I've had several religious crises when I was young because I wanted to know more. I needed the need to understand, and not one religion was capable of fulfilling my research and my needs. So I started reading around, but the best is actually introspection. And introspection, and then you realize that the truth is inside us. Everybody has got access to this truth, and it's only through introspection, and reading helps, yes, because you get also other people, and when you find the people that share your own thoughts, then you're like, wait, if they have the exact same thoughts as me, then we're on the same track. There must be something right. We must know something, both of us. So this is it. This is how I originated, and then obviously I even wrote a little book for my kids where it's called The Truth of Life. It's a very tiny book, but that's where I explain how we should see life. At least this is how I feel it, and I wanted to leave it for them to one day, so that they don't all get confused with all this mess going on, and religions pulling. My religion is the correct, and no, mine is better. Mine is much better than yours. It's like playing football, Everybody plays football, but you have the football teams. You have, I don't know, Madrid, that we're the best. No, it's Milan who's the best. You're kidding. No, it's Juventus. You're all playing football.
Well, on another note, I'll ask, who is your football team? Who is your football team?
Well, I'm Italian. It's like
you would have been very proud a few weeks ago, then.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not a football fan in the sense I don't really follow football, but when the country plays, yes, I become.
You've just lost Italian. A lot of European followers. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're all going, this guy, I liked him before that comment. No, I've never really gotten into football, or the soccer side of football. I'd call it soccer from over here in Australia, but I work with a bunch of British people, and they're all over soccer or football. So our football's with a ball that's about that long, and it's shaped odd, and they run at each other at 120 kilos, and it's a great game to watch. It's called rugby league.
But that's amazing. It's amazing. I would love to learn that. I would love to learn that.
Yeah, it toughens you up.
It's
and
a bit
breaks
like rugby, isn't it?
Yeah, it's NRL. It's called it's very similar to rugby union, except it's just a little bit different structured. But it's actually grand final week this week, so my team is playing in the qualifying final to play in the grand final tonight. So it's about 6 o'clock here, and they kick off at 7:50. So I'm like excited as to go and see them win. Well, we hope they're going to win at least.
I'm sure they're going to do an amazing job.
Now I want to ask.
My next.
You go. Yeah? You go.
No, this is my next project. I want to learn how to play rugby or football. That kind of football. So.
Well, when you come visit me in Australia, we'll go play together. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I get my collarbones settled.
Put padding on. There's none of that American style stuff where they put padding on either. It's
that's
straight.
Straight, naked almost.
Yeah.
Right.
You can. The good one is when you can hear the brutality of them running at each other, and the cameras and the microphones are off the field, and you can hear the crunch of their bones hitting each other. That's the thing I love. I love watching it at home and hearing that. And I will say though, in Australia, there's this. Have you ever been to Australia?
No, not yet. I would love to.
It's I know over in Europe, there's this, when you go to see a game live, is this culture there. There's this vibe. The stadium's just roaring of noise. Here in Australia, there's just none of that. Like, we go and watch a game, and unless it's the biggest game of the year, until something exciting happens, no one's doing anything. It's the quietest stadium. You can hear a penny drop in the middle. So we went and watched the AFL. AFL's pretty big here. We watched an AFL game a few weeks ago, and we were sitting in the stadium, and between while the game was playing, we could hear people about 10 or 15 seats over, like their conversation. And we were like, this is just weird. Like there's no noise. And so I'm really excited to go over to Europe and actually hear what it's like to be in a stadium with raving fans.
That's crazy. That's always singing and shouting and jumping up and down. It's different, I guess.
Now talk to me. What's the 5-year goal look like for you guys? What's the big goal that you're going to achieve this in the next 5 years?
Well, being in the waters with the boats and start cleaning up. That's the biggest goal. We need 2 years from funding to actually being in the water and functional, and then we need 5 more years to clean up the garbage patch. And this is my goal. So now we're at the funding stage.
Yeah.
So as I said, we're pushing through. We need a lot of visibility, a lot of people talking about it, and then the funding comes. Because unfortunately, this is how the industry works. If you can have the greatest idea, if you do not have visibility, you are unknown. So the more you're known, the more you have visibility, the more people actually help you get across, also because they get visibility too. So,
yeah. It's one of the interesting things that I noticed with us. Like we started the Eco Fight around a year ago. It's been a goal of mine for 5 years now to start. Ever since I was about around 15, 16, I really want to start this, but I'm very entrepreneurial, and I had another company that I ran that I sold when I turned 18. It made it a lot easier to sell my company when I was 18 because I was legally allowed to sign contracts and stuff. That's actually why I held off from selling my company. So I had a 35-person corporate cleaning company that I'd built from the age of 16 to 18. So I had it for 18 months. And so I sold it with 35 staff. We had a bunch of contracts around the area that I live. And it was really cool for me because I realized that I was able to step away on the money that I'd sold that from and go, okay, I'm really going to invest some time and money into building the organization that I've wanted to run for a really long time now. And that's where the Eco Fight was born. And so it's really cool that to kind of talk to other people and see where their 5-year goals are, because I realized that we're currently designing and trying to get the blueprints together on what automated machines would look like for cleaning riverways, oceans, and stuff like that. And then realizing that there's so many people out there that we can talk to that are also trying to achieve the same things. And instead of having to hit the roadblocks, which is what we're hitting at the moment, like there's other people we can talk to that can help us progress faster.
Yes.
And so I would love to know, where are the areas that people can help? Where are the areas that my audience can go over and follow and donate to you so that we can get you rolling and get you in the water and start changing the world?
Look, already if your audience can follow Gaia First on Instagram, for example, Gaia.first, that would be already good, because first of all, they understand what we're doing and understand all the steps and they follow it. Okay, so it's always good to follow something closely because we're quite active on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then just help us through their networks, through companies, to donate something for this first step, and then the second step of the fundings. This is important right now, so that would be good. That would be a great advancement. And another thing, we're looking for ambassadors. Now, for ambassadors is usually somebody who's already has quite a strong visibility, but it can be anybody that is willing to help. So we're looking for ambassadors. So doors are open. Please come in.
Fantastic. And just to give you guys listening a little bit of context, if you want to reach out to them, they reply very, very quickly. and you'll have this beautiful man replying to you, or one of the people on his team, and you'll be able to get through and ask any questions you want. But if you guys can go over and give them a follow and give them some money that you can, then that would be really appreciated by me. And I know how much it's going to impact them. So that would be really cool. But I've got a few more questions for you. So
Go ahead.
I would love to know that once you've achieved this, once you've finished what you're doing here, what is the next thing? What are you going to go and do? What are you passionate about?
Well, my next step will be always through Gaia First, will be to privatize rainforests, and especially, delicate areas. Why privatize it? Because the only way to avoid logging and avoid all kind of hunting or anything else, it's by privatizing and blocking it off. Obviously, you cannot, for example, the rainforest, you cannot privatize the whole rainforest, but you can privatize right the borders of it, so that you cannot you cannot burn down somebody else's forest, so that will prevent and will limit, more than prevent, it will limit. But I'm always on the look for new adventures and new projects that make sense. See, I'm in a phase of life that I said, as soon as I turned 40, what is it? About 40, I said, okay, half of my life is gone. Now the other half, I want to make a difference for something that I care of, and that is nature. Okay, animals and plants and everything else. So this is, I'm determined to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. And at the moment, you guys, I would love to know, for other people out there that are trying to start organizations to do good. I know that I've got some friends that are already doing stuff for planting trees, saving the forest. There's a lot of wildlife people that follow me here in Australia. What are the things that you've done to? I see so many volunteers work for you, and finding people to be passionate and volunteer for you is not an easy thing to do. Like, we're at the moment of trying to understand how we can start getting volunteers to help us grow quicker. What is it that you're doing to kind of get that? Because it's incredible to see.
Well, yeah, I contact them directly.
Okay.
I do a lot of research. I go on Instagram and I try to respond and call for action people. I convince them wherever I go. I travel a lot, so wherever I go, I try to get a little crowd on, get my passion through, to involve people. Because once you start paying for volunteers, then those are never volunteers.
They're employees.
Okay, you will, they're employees, and they will only do things half-heartedly, even if they do care about it. So, being volunteer, this is how I think. If you want to win a war, and we're in a kind of war with ourselves here. If you want to win a war, you do it first of all with volunteers. You do it with people that are passionate about making a change and being the person that does that change. Whether it's because of they're doing things on the field, or whether because they're supporting us. Supporting us how? Like you're doing now, putting us up on the visibility platform, or talking to friends and people that there's Gaia, maybe we should help and follow them, or giving us donations. This is all important. Donations, it doesn't have to be money either. It can also be qualities. I don't know, if you have a web designer, we're looking for a web designer. Well, he can give some of his time for us. That would be great.
Yeah.
We need to come together. I mean, the world is in our hands. We do not have time to waste. But at the same time, we are living in an exciting moment, because the good actions that we do now are going to make all the difference. And this is what I'm trying to tell everybody. the good things that we do now will make a difference. So start acting now.
Fantastic. That's so good.
Join Gaia First.
And if you guys are interested in going across, and if there is anyone that has qualities that can help Gaia First, please message them. I know that there's lots of things that you guys would need, the qualities that would really help you. If you have contacts with governments, if you have contacts with organizations that they might be able to partner with, definitely give them a message, because I know how much it is important. It's helped us with some of the partnerships we've been able to get just by people giving it through. And so just offer it out, give the website help, give social media help, whatever you guys can do. It's really beneficial, especially because I know how hard it is to start the organization. And sometimes starting it doesn't mean you have the skills to make it last and get it through. But it's about what you guys can do on the outside to really help progress the organization, that's going to help them be able to achieve their goals, which at the end of the day is going to help our lives, everyone on this planet. So exactly, it's really important that we just give a little bit so that we can all achieve a common goal. So yeah, I hope exactly that little G up was helpful.
That was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Now, I'd love to ask one final question. If there was anything else on this planet that you could do, if this wasn't the journey you went down, what would have you done?
Well, I think I would have loved movies. I would have loved. No, besides that, I think my goal is to find a way, an organization that actually is in charge worldwide of the environment, because I think governments most of the time are just limited to their interests. So I think there should be an organization, which there isn't one at the moment. A real organization that oversees all governments and determines no fishing zones, no logging zones, no hunting zones, things like this, and brings the respect of nature into obligations worldwide. So that would have been my goal. It might still be my goal. I mean, once Gaia is passed on to somebody else, that's what I would like to do.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really cool. It's cool to kind of understand how other people think, because you're like, God, why didn't I think of that? No, it's so cool to kind of understand how other people think about how they would want to impact and see the journey they want to go on. But I'd love to I think we'll wrap it up here, because I think I'm going to get you back on the podcast again later on, because I want to get you back on to do more. And give people an update on what you're working on to kind of help them understand you guys a little bit more. But what's a final statement that you would have to any of the listeners that have sat through the whole podcast?
One final statement: join us. You've been here. There is it's not a chance that you're listening to this podcast. It's probably a message for you. This is what I tell everybody whenever somebody wants to join. I say it's not by chance that we met. It's the universe that has connected us together, because we're going to do great things together. And I'm determined to do those great things with you. So
yeah. Awesome.
That's what I'm saying to all of them.
All righty, man. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on this episode of the podcast. And for anyone that's listening out there, make sure you go over and give them a follow. If that's the most you can do, make sure you give them a follow, but support them in any way you can. And I want to thank you guys so much for all the support you guys have been giving us lately. We've actually been hitting our highest record engagement on Instagram at the moment. So it's fantastic to see every day when we post for you guys to continuously be supporting us. And I'm seeing new faces pop up in the messages, sending messages to us and stuff as well. So if you ever have any questions, make sure you reach out and send us a message, because it's really awesome to kind of see what you guys are thinking about, the thoughts that you have, and any advice that you have or help that you have for us as well. But mate, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man.
Thank you, Jackson. You're doing an amazing podcast, and hope to see you soon again. Okay, maybe even in live, face to face.
Hey, it's not out of the question. I think we'll be with all my new French skills. I might be over living there soon. I can pretty much say bonjour now. I'm getting good at it.
Je t'attends d'ici à Paris alors. I'm waiting for you here in Paris.
Yeah, I knew that. I was just testing you.
I knew you knew that.
Well, I'll wrap this up with saying au revoir. Au revoir, everyone.
Au revoir.
And I want to thank you so much for listening, guys. I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.